The banquet was divided into indoor and outdoor sections, making it two different scenes. Inside the banquet hall, there were only a few distinguished elders, clan leaders, and their relatives seated. At the front, with forehead ribbons tied up, they sat upright and solemn, sipping the dark liquid from their soup bowls and picking at the greenish leaves on their plates. The dishes served to guests like Zhang Fengmian, Jin Guangshan, and Nie Mingjue were much more sumptuous, with an extra layer of oil, looking much more appetizing. Wei Wuxian glanced down at his own plate, which was filled with the standard plain fare typical of the Lan clan. He picked through his plate for a long time, but couldn't find anything he could stomach, so he pouted. Glancing over at Lan Wangji's plate, he saw that it was exactly the same as his own. Lan Wangji's long, slender, and pale fingers held a pair of chopsticks. His eyelashes were lowered as a soft light swept over the plate of food. With an elegant and unhurried movement, he placed a small bite into his mouth, chewing slowly and swallowing it without showing any emotion. Wei Wuxian was stunned to see someone eating in such a refined and almost ethereal manner, devoid of any sense of mundane reality. Little old-fashioned, even eating looks so graceful. Just a moment ago, he was led by this person and somehow ended up bowing in a wedding ceremony, and Wei Wuxian was still in a daze. He had clearly been planning to escape to the ends of the earth, but something about this person in that moment had captivated him. Or perhaps he was simply so shocked upon learning his identity that his mind went blank and he had no idea what he was doing when he allowed himself to be led. Noticing Wei Wuxian staring blankly at him, Lan Wangji seemed to sense something. He glanced at Wei Wuxian's plate and asked with concern, "The dishes, not to your taste?" Wei Wuxian was stunned for a moment, then stammered, Lan Wangji whispered a few words to the servant attending to them. "I'll have them change the dishes." As he spoke, he took the jar of Emperor's Smile wine from the servant, poured a small cup, and handed it to Wei Wuxian. "Can I drink this?" The moment he said this, Wei Wuxian mentally slapped himself. Since when did he need someone else's permission to drink? Had he just bowed in a wedding ceremony and immediately slipped into the role of an obedient little spouse? Despite thinking this, Wei Wuxian still waited for Lan Wangji to say, "Yes." Only then did he take the wine, downing it in one gulp. The burning sensation in his throat made his whole body feel relaxed and comfortable. He silently praised the wine several times in his mind, but dared not show it on his face. Lan Wangji took back the cup and meticulously poured him another drink. Wei Wuxian drank quietly, all the while sneaking curious glances at Lan Wangji, as if feeling the need to re-familiarize himself with him. At this moment, how should he regard this person? As the little old-fashioned, as Lan Wangji, or perhaps as his husband? This one word stirred up a peculiar, unfamiliar, and subtle sense of contractions in his chest. He kept reminding himself over and over again that the little old-fashioned was indeed Lan Wangji, and Lan Wangji was indeed the little old-fashioned. Yet, inexplicably, it gave him a headache, and he just couldn't reconcile the two images in his mind. After all, during the days when he couldn't meet Lan Wangji, he had pegged him as a pampered and conceited second young master of the Lan family. Not much better than that peacock Jin Zixuan. Although because of his Lan family upbringing, Lan Wangji was more reserved and composed than Jin Zixuan. But, deep down, that arrogance and pride were just buried deeper, not a bit lacking. If anything, it was probably the image of a silently flaunting silver phoenix. And now, suddenly, he was being told that Lan Wangji was the very same young man who played with him every night. The little old-fashioned clearly knew he was Wei Ying, yet for some unknown reason did not reveal his own identity equally. In this atmosphere of mutual respect, the act of pouring and drinking silently was awkward all along. Wei Wuxian carefully avoided touching Lan Wangji's hand that was wrapped around the wine cup. Unfortunately, the cup was so small, as if specifically designed to prevent anyone from drinking freely. His fingertips were forced to pinch the cup's edge delicately, almost to an exacting degree. This careful movement did not escape Lan Wangji's notice. His eyes lowered slightly, and he remained silent. A moment later, Lan Wangji indeed changed Wei Wuxian's food to the guest-style dishes. When they were satisfied with the food and drink, Lan Xichen carried his cup to offer them congratulations. This was Lan Xichen, also known as Zewu Jun, one of the twin jades of the Lan clan. Earlier in the hall, Wei Wuxian had noticed him seated beside Jun. His appearance and demeanor possessed the same elegant and dignified quality as Jun and Lan Wangji, but with a softer touch, like a gentle spring breeze and light rain, subtly soothing the heart. After exchanging formal greetings, Lan Xichen smiled and said, "Young Master Wei, I suppose I should call you Xian now. You really gave us all a scare just now." Before Wei Wuxian could nervously attempt to explain, Lan Xichen continued on his own. "But I can tell that there were only some minor misunderstandings between you two. Now that the truth has come to light, it's truly for the best." Wei Wuxian was surprised. The subtle recognition between him and Lan Wangji, from his ostentatious runaway wedding to being forcibly taken to the wedding hall, had left him in a tangled mess, and anyone else watching would have been utterly baffled. However, to Zewu Jun, Lan Xichen, everything seemed so clear, natural, and logical. It even gave Wei Wuxian the impression that Lan Xichen knew more than the two of them involved and understood the situation better than they did. Little Old-Fashioned's elder brother is not an old-fashioned at all. He's much more impressive than his younger brother, Wei Wuxian silently concluded. Lan Xichen seemed very pleased and enthusiastically spoke to Wei Wuxian for a while, praising Lan Wangji. He talked about how Lan Wangji had a cold exterior but a warm heart, and though he appeared indifferent to those around him, he actually paid careful attention to the people he cared about. He was like this with the younger generation, and even more so with the people he liked. Lan Wangji, feeling slightly embarrassed, quietly said, "Elder brother." Lan Xichen ignored him and continued speaking on his own. He explained that Lan Wangji's temperament often led to misunderstandings. Whether people liked him or disliked him, they rarely understood his true feelings. His turbulent emotions were hidden behind an expression so indifferent it nearly appeared apathetic. If pushed too hard, he might utter words that contradicted his true thoughts, leading to further misunderstandings. He suffered any grievances or miscommunications silently, as he always kept his distress deeply buried in his heart. Seeing this, Lan Xichen, his elder brother, grew increasingly anxious, wishing he could replace Lan Wangji's mouth and hand to speak freely and act decisively on his behalf. "I got excited and spoke too much again. On this joyous day, the time should be left for you two. It's rare to see Wangji so happy. You two should spend some good time together and talk more. I won't disturb you any longer." Until that point, Wei Wuxian had been listening in a daze. But at the last sentence, he suddenly looked up and met Lan Wangji's face, as unyielding as carved jade and as icy as a frozen lake. He couldn't help but be astonished. How could anyone see happiness in this expression? Wei Wuxian thought to himself, "Zewu Jun's words are indeed true. But as for Lan Xichen's ability to understand his younger brother, when will I ever learn even a fraction of it?" At this moment, Wei Wuxian held no hope in his heart. After sitting in the banquet hall for a short while, Wei Wuxian was pulled outside by his junior disciples. The open-air banquet outside presented a completely different scene from the formality inside. With the effects of the alcohol, the young disciples from various clans laughed, played, and mingled together boisterously. Amidst their elders' shouts and calls, they finally managed to sit down. They painfully listened to the elders praise other families' children, especially Lan Wangji, who had gained fame at a young age and had now gotten married. Lan Wangji's marriage to Wei Wuxian solidified the bond between the Jiang and Lan families for a century, and brought Wei Wuxian, another exceptionally talented and promising young man, into the Lan family's fold. This addition made the Lan family even stronger, as if adding wings to a tiger. From then on, the Lan clan of Gusu not only had the twin jades of the Lan family but also Wei Ying. This exceptional combination left other families far behind, evoking envy from onlookers. As for Wei Ying, although he may be a bit flamboyant, rebellious, and prone to causing trouble, didn't Lan Wangji just manage to make him behave obediently? Before the ceremony, without uttering a word, Lan Wangji only needed to stare for a few moments, and Wei Ying, who was fiercely resisting and vowing to never marry, was obediently dragged to the hall for the wedding ceremony. This second young master Lan, who appears upright and straightforward with seemingly no deep schemes, was actually able to subdue Wei Ying on the spot. Such well-hidden depth of character must have been cultivated through long-term patience and strategy.